Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating, looking at the Argentina Pumas. You know, they're facing the British and Irish Lions, which is always a massive, massive test in rugby, especially now, given their, let's say, challenging situation with prep and squad. We've got this really insightful article here from Planet Rugby, written by Alex Spink just a few days before the match in Dublin. It dives into the mindset of the Pumas head coach, Felipe Contepomi.
Yeah, and what's really grabbed me about this piece is where Contepomi is finding inspiration. It's not, the usual rugby playbook stuff. He's actually tapping into something much broader, something really uh, deeply connected to Argentina's, well, national pride right now.
Exactly. So our mission here on this deep dive is to unpack that. Where is this motivation coming from for the Pumas? How are they drawing strength for this huge Lions test? And what does it tell us about their whole approach when, the odds look pretty stacked against them? This is pure rugby obsession, so if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you don't miss any deep dives into the sport we all love. Okay, let's jump in. Right, so first, let's just paint the picture for you. Pumas versus Lions in Dublin. A standalone fixture, but, it's the Lions. It always carries that huge weight.
Mm-hmm. And the context for Argentina, reading this article, it sounds incredibly difficult. Contepomi himself calls his squad depleted. A lot of their top European-based players, especially from France, aren't available. So it's a very different looking Puma side than, say, their usual rugby championship lineup.
Yeah, it sounds like a serious uphill climb even before kickoff, just based on prep time. The article says they've had, what, 2 training sessions?
2 sessions and a captain's run. That's it.
Wow. 2 sessions to prepare for the Lions. Compare that. The article notes the Lions were already into their second week of camp by then. That's a huge difference.
Really is. And then you look at the squad itself. The piece highlights 11 uncapped players in the matchday squad. 11.
Uncapped against the Lions. That's a baptism of fire.
Absolutely. Many are coming from the Super Rugby Americas League, which is, a good standard, developing fast, but facing the combined might of the Lions, that's a massive step up, a real test of their depth and how quickly they can gel.
So you put all that together, depleted squad, almost no prep time, loads of uncapped players. It sounds like the deck is seriously stacked. The article even mentions the bookies expect a seismic shock result if Argentina win. Just that phrase. It tells you everything about the perceived odds, right?
It does. It frames them very clearly as the massive underdogs, which naturally leads to the question, okay, given all that, where do you possibly find the belief, the spark? How do you get this group ready to not just to compete, but actually aim for that seismic shock?
And this is where the article gets really, really interesting. This is the core of it. Contepomi is asked about inspiration, and he doesn't point to, famous Pumas tries or past glories. He points straight at Lionel Messi and the World Cup-winning Argentina football team.
Which is, yeah, maybe a bit unexpected. Rugby looking to football, especially in Argentina, where football is just, well, everything. But the article kind of explains the context. Contepomi talks about Argentina being in a football honeymoon. They won the World Cup. They won 2 Copa Americas back-to-back.
Yeah.
He feels it's maybe their best ever period in soccer history.
Right, but it's deeper than just, hey, the footballers won, let's feel good. Contepomi specifically mentions why that team inspires them. He talks about their consistency, their behavior. He names Messi and the manager, Scaloni, how well they play, and crucially, how they bring young players through successfully.
So it's about the way they achieved success, the principles behind it. It really connects to this idea of a shared Argentinian way. Contepomi says something powerful in the article, like, it doesn't matter the soccer, rugby, basketball, you are Argentinian.
Yeah.
It's about that shared identity, that spirit. And apparently the footballers even send support videos to the rugby team. So that connection, that respect, it's real.
So this isn't just waving the flag. It's a very deliberate coaching strategy. Contepomi sees specific lessons in the football team's success that apply to his Pumas, and he says this inspiration fits perfectly with his own coaching philosophy, particularly that focus on attention to detail, which he sees in Scaloni too.
And that alignment is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when things are tough, like they are for the Pumas right now. Contepomi really hammers this point about focusing only on what you can control. Player availability, prep time, those are external. He says, and I'm paraphrasing slightly from the article, the result depends on so many variables you can't control. The opposition, the ref, the weather. The only thing we control is us. How we prepare, how we act, how we are together as a team.
That's such a strong message for a team in their position. focusing inward on the process, on the culture. He uses this brilliant analogy in the source material, too. Something like, an extraordinary thing isn't done by one extraordinary action.
But by 1,000 small little mundane actions put together. Yeah, I love that line.
It's great, isn't it? It's not about finding one miracle play. It's about nailing the basics consistently.
And he applies that directly to the game itself. He doesn't see it as just 80 minutes. He says, it's not one game of 80 minutes. It's 80 games of 1 minute. You need to concentrate on every single action. That's the mindset.
We're kicking it down like that.
Exactly. Taking inspiration from the footballers' consistency, their focus, and applying it minute by minute. Win the next tackle, win the next ruck, execute the next pass. Those small, mundane actions, that's how they approach it, despite everything.
It's a smart way to manage the pressure, especially with so many new guys. Focus on the immediate task, not the whole mountain.
Absolutely. It empowers them. It makes the huge challenge of the Lions seem maybe just a little bit more manageable. Focus on winning your 1 minute.
Now, the article also brings up a bit of history, something Contepomi himself experienced firsthand. The 2005 match against the Lions in Cardiff.
Ah, yes, the famous draw.
Right. He was captain then, and they held the Lions to 25-all, a massive result for the Pumas at the time.
And he talks about that game, how they were huge underdogs then, too, expected to get rolled over. But they stuck to their strengths, dominated the set piece, apparently kicked their goals, stayed in the fight. Only a late Johnny Wilkinson penalty stopped them winning.
And there's this amazing detail about that 2005 game. Contepomi mentions he didn't even know some of his teammates' names before they met up in the hotel lobby just before the match.
Wow. That really highlights the kind of sometimes chaotic preparation the Pumas used to face outside major tournaments.
Yeah. And while things are maybe a bit more structured now with Super Rugby Americas, having 11 uncapped players and just 2 sessions, it still feels like there's an echo of that challenge, building that cohesion super fast.
For sure. There are parallels in terms of the pressure and the need to click quickly.
But importantly, despite those challenges, the article also points to a source of confidence within this current group. Contepomi mentions their recent record. He points out that many players in this squad, even if they haven't faced the Lions before, have been part of Pumas teams that have recently beaten teams like South Africa, thumped Australia, and even won in New Zealand.
And that's crucial, isn't it? It balances the narrative. Yes, they're depleted in one sense, the prep is short, but the talent pool has delivered big results recently. They know they can beat top teams. So even if this specific combination is new, that underlying belief, that recent proof, it matters.
Definitely. So it's this mix, this sort of cocktail, the powerful inspiration from Messi and the footballers, this intense focus on process and controlling their own actions, and then leveraging that confidence from recent big wins. Quite a unique formula.
It really is. A very Argentinian approach, maybe?
Yeah.
Drawing on that national passion, but grounding it in meticulous, controllable effort.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening? Whether you're involved in sport or facing a tough project at work or just any big challenge in life, I think this deep dive really shows something powerful. Inspiration, real potent motivation, it doesn't always come from the obvious places, does it? Sometimes looking sideways, looking at success in a totally different field, finding those underlying principles that can be incredibly effective.
Yeah, and it really prompts a question, I think. When you're facing something daunting, how powerful could it be to consciously break it down, to focus on those 1,000 small, mundane actions, like Contepomi says, to really dial in on winning those 80 games of 1 minute? And maybe ask yourself, where could I find some unexpected inspiration, maybe from a completely different area, to fuel that focus?
What really stands out to you about the Pumas' approach here? Have you ever used inspiration from, I don't know, music or art or another sport to tackle something difficult? We genuinely love to hear your experiences. And hey, if you enjoyed digging into the stories and strategies behind the game like this, make sure you're subscribed to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. We'd hate for you to miss out. Okay, that about wraps up this Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. We've explored how the Argentina Pumas are drawing on their World Cup-winning football counterparts for inspiration against the Lions. It's a really compelling example of mindset, process, and tapping into that deep cultural connection.
Indeed. And remember that idea. Extraordinary things often come from the sum of many, many small, ordinary actions done well. It's a good thought to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for tuning in. We really hope you found this interesting. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.